At 10.
What would you do if you found out your doctor was operating on you and another patient at the same time? In the medical field, the name for these kinds of procedures is concurrent surgeries.
And I teamed up with Fox 4's Rochelle Lilly to find out if those surgeries are happening here in Southwest Florida. Our special report also features former MLB player Bobby Jenks, who says a concurrent surgery ended his career.
A Major League Baseball career marked by so many highs, ending
Former charges are now being brought against a Red Sox player
after two devastating lows right here in Southwest Florida.
Tonight, we are learning Sox pitcher Bobby Jenks will face charges of leaving the scene and reckless driving.
I was probably up to 60 plus pills a day, and that's probably some days on the low side. At that point, I was full on addicted to the painkillers.
Headlines capturing the first of those incidents after former Red Sox player Bobby Jenks was arrested by the Lee County Sheriff's Office on DUI charges in March of 2012. The arrest report shows that Jenks was pulled over on Colonial Boulevard while hopped up on muscle relaxers. He was down in Fort Myers spring training with the Sox at the time.
Bobby, when did you hit bottom?
Fox 4's Jane Monreal sat down to talk with Jenks about the incident and learned that there was a second one that happened shortly after that most don't know about.
I had another blackout. I had taken so many pills one night with mixing Ambien along with them, and I blacked out, and I woke up in my neighbor's car and with the police and the ambulance, the paramedics around me.
Jenks was released from the Red Sox roster following those two incidents and later checked into rehab to deal with his pill addiction. But to understand how he got there, we have to take you back to 2011 when he was pitching for the White Sox in a game against the Yankees.
One day in New York, I just, an undescribable pain after one pitch that it really just crumbled me.
Jenks says his pill habit started right after that injury to his back. After many doctor's visits, it was decided that surgery would be Bobby's best bet. The procedure was scheduled to happen at Massachusetts General Hospital at the end of the 2011 season, and by all accounts, it went well. Bobby spent some time recovering in Boston and then flew home to Arizona.
After I got home, a few days later, I sitting on my couch recovering, and what felt like a glass of water being dumped on my back turned out to be the bottom of my incision opening up and blowing out about a quarter of an inch at the bottom, spewing out spinal fluid.
He was rushed into emergency surgery. According to Jenks, the surgeon that performed this operation says a mistake from his first surgery caused a tear in the sac around his spine.
That's what led to the spinal leakage and ultimately caused an infection that nearly took my life.
Jenks says after digging more into what went wrong that first time around, Jenks learned that doctor had been practicing something called concurrent surgeries.
According to the American College of Surgeons, concurrent surgeries are basically when your doctor is operating on more than one person at the same time. According to their website, they say that operating on two patients in two different operating rooms at the same time is inappropriate.
We found out what the hospital in Massachusetts is practicing, which which directly led into my surgery going wrong.
We wanted to find out if concurrent surgeries were happening here in Southwest Florida, so we made some phone calls, starting with Lee Health. But they tell me they don't happen here.
Fox 4 also reached out to NCH, Tampa General, and Jackson Memorial in Miami. NCH says they don't practice concurrent surgeries, but they do practice overlapping surgeries. It means that the surgeon's next patient is being prepped while they're still wrapping up another procedure. Jackson Memorial declined to comment, and when calling Tampa General, I never got a chance to ask the question before they declined to participate in the piece.
There's nothing that you shouldn't be able to ask. I know, especially for myself, I had a hard time. A lot of it was ego.
Jenks says when scheduling a procedure, patients should be made aware of whether or not their doctor practices concurrent surgeries. It's a question he says he wished he'd asked before going under the knife. The complications from his first surgery ultimately led him to having a third surgery that meant the end of his professional career.
It took a lot to come to terms with everything that I lost. At the same time, becoming sober and realizing that what I still do have and what I can still do and bring to not only my family but society and the game is just as important to me.
He has since sued that first surgeon and is now starting a nonprofit to raise awareness about these types of surgeries.
It's important for me, everything that I've gone through, the impact that the surgeries had on me, my family, my career, that I couldn't sit back and let it continue when I know that it's going on.
In Lee County, Rochelle Aline, Fox 4, in your corner.
And while Bobby Jenks claims he found out about his concurrent surgery during his lawsuit against that original surgeon, we wanted to hear what the hospital had to say. Earlier this week, Rochelle reached out to Massachusetts General Hospital to see if they had a response to our report. This morning, they sent us this following statement. Quote, "We remain confident that Dr. Wood provided high quality and appropriate care to Mr. Jenks. Following the surgery, which was performed in 2011, Mr. Jenks unfortunately developed a well-known complication associated with this type of surgery, and this issue was subsequently repaired. It was and remains the hospital's position that this complication was not the result of any error by Dr. Wood in the performance of the surgery. We also want to make clear that overlapping surgery played no role in this case. Dr. Wood performed the entire surgical procedure from the positioning and opening to the closing of the incision, and he accompanied Mr. Jenks into recovery following the procedure. The MGH agreed that negotiating a settlement was the most prudent outcome for all concerned, given the attention, difficulties, and uncertainty that such a high-profile case was likely to generate." So Rochelle is joining us live now in studio. And Patrick, you were there, obviously, with that old story in 2012. Do you remember the story?
I actually had to look it up when you started working on it, when the editor actually showed me that little clip, 8 years ago. And as I read over the report, I remember some of those details, like him reportedly telling police, "I'm messed up and I know I'm going to fail the test," and that kind of stuff. It was big news at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rochelle, a lot of work calling the hospitals. What was that process like?
I mean, this was months of work. You can attest to that, Jane. I mean, it took us a long time to get hospitals, especially, to confirm on the record that whether or not they actually practice concurrent surgeries, as you guys kind of saw in that piece.
Well, it kind of freaks you out, just the thought of it. If it's totally safe, you wouldn't have a problem saying it, but it was difficult for you to get people. It sounded like you almost encountered anger from some of these hospital systems at some point.
I definitely did. I mean, we called lawyers, we called doctors, we called hospitals. Again, months of calling.
Just for asking.
Just for asking. And again, as you can see in the piece, all we have is Bobby Jenks. It took a lot of time to even get people to confirm in writing whether or not, again, that they did these surgeries, and nobody wanted to talk on camera about it.
Yeah, it gives you that sense that it's the unspoken.
Yeah, definitely felt taboo.
Yeah, thanks, Rochelle. For more information on the ACS's guidelines for surgeries, you can visit our website, fox4now.com.